Alright, got the wheel off. Looks like I should probably just replace the rotor and the brakes while I'm down here. So let's start getting these pieces apart. So take the calipers off. We gotta start by taking this, what looks like a 12 millimeter, so that we can access this guy right here. And there's another one down here. Right there. Okay. So we gotta get those two off, but first we gotta get that guy off. Alright, I got the caliper off. I had to use a little blaster, so I got that guy down there. Got it off. Now we're gonna get the hub off. Alright, got those guys off. And this guy literally just was hand tightened on there. Alright, so I was able to pull that off really easily. It was not difficult at all. There's the outer bearing. I gotta get that seal out. Alright, so I want to replace the rotor. I want to get new calipers, new brakes, but they don't have everything. Nelson, what are you doing? Are you helping or are you hindering? Alright. So I got it all cleaned up. But here's what I'm going to do. These bearings are really cheap. They're only $6 each. So I'm actually going to just go ahead and install them with all the same rotors, same brake pads, all the same stuff. And just see how I do to make sure that this first run goes well. And then once I got all the parts, I'm just going to go and do it all again. Just an extra 12 bucks. So the spindle looks pretty good. It looks like there's something there, but it's smooth. There's no lip or anything, no edge, and it's smooth. So I think it should be fine. Now what I'm gonna do is try to clean out all that grease, so I can put some fresh grease in there. All right, well, I didn't clean everything out because it's pretty clean on the inside, but this edge is pretty dirty. It's brown. I got that cleaned up pretty good. But like I said, we're just testing it right now, so it doesn't need to be perfect. Because I'm going to get new rotors, and I'm going to take this apart and just deep clean it. There's an internal ring. That's the outer ring on the bearing. And you can see those 4 grooves. I'll pop that ring out. It was stuck in there pretty good. Using a hammer and this guy. Just. What's up? Are you making one of them plantains? Yes, if you flip it over, then you're able to go from this side and then just gently pop it out. Alright, I was able to get it packed, and sorry I couldn't show you the process, but I was able to get it tapped in there and then get the seal tapped in using that set right there, using this guy. It's a really messy process, but when done right, it's pretty straightforward and easy to do. Now I got to flip it over and do the other side, and then pack some fresh grease in there. Alright, let's pack this guy. And we're gonna just move it back and forth. Alright, so I got the bearing in there. Let's go ahead and get it on. This is the tricky part, getting it to the right torque, because you don't really want any torque on it. You want it to be free floating. The more torque you have on it, the more pressure on the bearings, the more heat that's going to be generated. If there's too little torque, it's going to be loose, and then they're going to wear down really fast. So we need to get this perfect. And that's why this little nut got all these different little star parts, that way you can get it at the perfect spot. And then once you get in the perfect spot, then you just throw your pin in there and it won't move. So that's what we want to find, the perfect spot. I almost forgot to put the washer on, don't forget that, otherwise the grease is gonna fill up in this guy. So here's my plan. I'm just gonna hand tighten it to where it's at, and then I'm gonna grab just a simple crescent wrench and just hand tighten it to where I think everything's pressed in nice, and then I'm gonna back it out. It's taken a little bit, but I think I figured out how to get your wheel bearings to hold perfectly in place without falling back any. Keep in mind this is only needed on the driver's side, because the driver's side wheels spin in a counterclockwise motion, whereas the passenger side wheels spin in a clockwise motion. So there's a washer behind this nut, and there's this little groove going down the spindle, and the washer has a groove in it that goes down there, and that keeps the washer from spinning. So if the washer can't spin, it can't put any torque on the nut to keep the nut from spinning out. But here's the thing. When you're tightening this down, there's a little bit of play right here. And you'll see the washer spin a bit. See, it spins a little bit, and then it stops. The nut will keep spinning, but it'll stop. So, but if I go back the other way, you'll see, then it stops. You're going to slowly get it down where you want it. So, we're spinning freely. And this is much better to do without the calipers on. That way the rotor is, kind of free floating. But I mean, I'm just doing it this way. But if you want to do it the right way, take the tires off and take the calipers off. Now, the next step, I think is a good logical step, is we're going to go forward, just like a nudge, like that, and then we're going to back off. And watch, when I back off, that washer is going to spin with us. And then it stops right there. So what we did is we spun it back to counter that play, and by tightening it first, now we're back to that original spot. So when this tire is spinning and the bearing is putting force on the washer to spin it, it's not gonna have any play, because if it has any play, then it's gonna add torque to the bolt or to the nut, and that could eventually work its way forward. This way, you're basically guaranteed no play as long as we get the cotter pin in there correctly, which is the next step. So when we get this little star cap on there, I don't know if that's what you actually call it, but that's what I've been calling it for a while. And we got the hole over there. So there's going to be 3 different positions. So we got one position, there's a second position, there's a third position, and you'll see this other one that's going to match the first position. See, that one is going to match that one. That's a bad one. See, look at that play. The nut's going to want to spin that way, right? So we want to stop this from spinning. There's too much room right there. Let's go to this one. That's a good one, but I don't know if we can get a cotter pin in there. I like that one the most. And on the other side, yeah, that one works pretty good. Let's use that one. Wedge that in there nice and tight, cotter pin around, and look, no room. A little bit of wiggle because it's working its way out, but if you get that cotter pin nice and tight over there and you really force that in, that shouldn't move at all. So take your time, and then, you know, just take your time getting that nice and firm in there. Not too firm, just right where you want it. And a good way to test it is spin your tire. It should spin freely. Now, mine's being caught up by the brakes. That's a whole separate issue. But you'll see when you tighten that down, it won't even make a full turn. If it doesn't even make a full turn when you spin it, like, see, mine makes a couple turns. If it doesn't make a full turn, then you got it way too tight. So, you know, just a little bit. Yeah. But see, it's because it's working its way out. Push that, get that in there.